Welcome to this edition of Platform. My name is Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Across the world, societies are built on history of nations, founded on a well-preserved narrative about their forebears. Such societies are shaped by history's lessons on moral values, social cohesion, politics, as well as cultural and national integration. Scholars argue that it is on the strength of these ideals national development picks up as citizens understand their roles and contributions to economic, social, and political development. In Nigeria, however, records show that the federal government officially expunged history from its basic school curriculum in 2007 and relegated history as an elective instead of a core subject at senior secondary school level. This, scholars say, led to the widening of a generational gap on students' mental development. Observers note that the attack on history actually started after the 1969 National Curriculum Conference, which resulted in the adoption of a national policy on education and subsequent adoption of the 6334 system of education. This led to the gradual decline on the teaching of history in Nigerian schools, resulting in the removal of the subject from the 2007 curriculum, which was implemented in 2009 and in 2010. Hence, from 2007 to 2017, almost 10 years, students in secondary schools in Nigeria did not study history as a subject and therefore can be described as academically deficient in the knowledge of their history. The Buhari administration restored the study of history in the secondary schools curriculum in 2018 through a directive of the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu. Since the restoration, schools, teachers, parents, examination bodies, and other stakeholders have been contending with the attendant challenges associated with a long period of the removal and study of history as a subject. What are these challenges and what solutions are being preferred? This is our focus on this edition of Platform. As we discuss the restoration of history as a subject in Nigeria's secondary school curriculum with the National President, Historical Society of Nigeria, Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe, whose society was established in 1955 at the University College, Ibadan, to promote an enduring sense of history and historical consciousness among the citizenry. Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe has been a professor of history for the past 10 years and is fellow Historical Society of Nigeria. Professor Okpe had served as head of Department of History, Federal University of Lafayette, and now lectures still at the same department. He was elected National President, Historical Society of Nigeria for the period 2018 to 2020. Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe, welcome to Platform.
Thank you very much.
As usual, on the panelist corner, we have Olayinka Ojo of the NTA's Education Desk. You're welcome.
Thank you.
And of course, our regular panelist, Ruth Aguele of our NTA Network Current Affairs Unit. And she's also the assistant producer of the program.
Thank you.
Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe, it will be good to start again by saying welcome to Platform.
Thank you very much, and thanks for the opportunity.
What is history, and what can you say are the benefits of its study at all levels?
There are various definitions of history that have been put forward by philosophers of history, both past and present. All I can say what history is that as a body of knowledge, history is about the past as it relates to the present. We talk in terms of understanding the present in the context of the past. As a human being, if you don't know where you are, as a human being, if you don't know where you are coming from, it will be difficult for you to understand where you are. And once you lack an understanding of where you are coming from and where you are, it becomes extremely difficult for you to even imagine where you are going. So history as a body of knowledge is about the human being. It's about consciousness. But more importantly, it's about the past, both past and present changes that human society undergo. Professor Abdullah Smith, blessed memory, Abi Uzaria, defined history as the totality of all the changes humanity has undergone, a study of which is also called history. What it means is that history is change, and change for change. A permanent feature of the society is change. Where you are coming from has to do with movement. Where you are, your understanding of where you are is also a product of movement. Where you hope to be is a product of movement. All this is tied into that body of knowledge. This also underscores the importance of history, not just for the individual, for the community, and even the nation. So, people have defined history in various ways. There are some who feel that history is about the past and should deal only with the past, should be consigned to the past. We professional historians feel that that type of definition has a lot of problems. Because once you remove the present from the past, you have a problem. Professor Alagua said, today is a child of yesterday. To understand today, you must understand yesterday. So generally, people talk about history from different points of view and in the way they experience it.
So this leads me to the next question.
Yes.
We, in this country, in the introduction, I did say history was expunged from the secondary school curriculum in 2007. But going through the little discussions we've had with you before we started the recording, I now know that you hold a different view.
Yes.
Which means there are even conflicts with respect to when it was expunged from the curricula. So when exactly was it expunged, and what was the reaction of the Historical Society of Nigeria when federal government, by fiat, expunged history as a subject in the school's curriculum?
Thank you for that question. Dates have been flying all over the place. But from our record, history officially got off the curriculum of basic primary education in 1986. And that affected the prospects of history in subsequent years. At the secondary school level, because you don't have people who have interest in history from the basic primary school, they could not function properly in the secondary school. So most of them prefer to go for government, for civics and all that. The implication of that is that from 1986, when you calculate, you are talking about about 3 decades, right? A generation of Nigerians grew up without knowing who they are, without knowing where they come from. And therefore, when you talk about the challenges that Nigeria is today facing, they can't connect, they can't relate to these challenges. If you notice, they are the ones that will always tell you, let's just dismember this nation and then forget about everything. And so they are always ready to take arms against the state. Look at what is happening with respect to Boko Haram in the northeast. Look at the Niger Delta area. Look at the whole thing about insecurity. Who are those that are promoting this? They are those who don't have a deep sense of...
And from their writers on the social media.
Of course. In the social media, when you see people react to situations, you then understand what we have done to this country. The pain we have afflicted on this country, it will take another century, indeed, for us a systematic process of healing to heal the nation of all these crises. Because let me tell you, once a people, a generation, you are talking here of about 36 years, a generation of Nigerians don't know anything about who their neighbors are, where Nigeria came from and all that, you are dealing with a rudderless generation. That is the generation that we are on to today. And it replicates into everything that we do. It replicates into the way we conduct ourselves. It replicates into the way we think about national rebate. But more fundamentally, it replicates into our sense of consciousness of who we are. Do you know who you are?
So the Historical Society of Nigeria, has been in existence since 1955. What was your reaction at that time, that 86, when this expulsion started at the primary level?
If you benchmark when it was removed from the curriculum of basic primary school, which we have said is 1986, you would then realize that that was under a military regime. And since then, we had other military regimes. You know how intolerant military regimes are. We also know why history was a target at the end of everything by 1986.
Why?
Indeed, there are views on this. But one of the views that seem to be seriously popularized is the view that professional historians played a major role in the anti-IMF loan agitations in this country. You know, it happened about that time when under IBB, Nigeria was said to be applying for a loan from the IMF. Debates were anchored on campuses of University of Ibadan, University of Ife, but more importantly, ABU Zaria. You are aware the role that Bala Usman played. Bala Usman was somebody that the military listened to up till that point. It was a major departure. We rejected roundly linking up with other progressive-minded people like the Academic Staff Union of Universities. We rejected roundly the IMF loan. It became very, very clear that something had to be done. And the argument is that historians generally will always want to remind
But it was not
people,
only the historians who
it was not only the historians, but they were arrowheads. They were arrowheads in the humanities across campuses in the university. If you go to Ibadan, there were people who were really, really in that movement. Go to Ife, the same thing. Go to ABU Zaria, the same thing. I just mentioned Bala Usman and some other persons, right? In Ibadan, we had the Obaro Ikimes, who participated. In Ife, you had so many of them, who also participated.
So the military regime gave it back to you, kind of.
That was our interpretation. Otherwise, there was no reason why history, a very important body of knowledge, will be removed from the curriculum of schools for reasons that were flimsy. History is very rigorous. People are no longer reading history. This one is this. You don't give such reasons. You don't call a dog a bad name in order to hang it. What was important at that point is the role historians, and not just historians, other disciplines were playing in national development. You had a discipline that will always remind you what you did day before yesterday. It was very obvious to us that an elite class was not comfortable with the history of where it came from. And so they need to snuff off life of that particular discipline. The point I'm trying to make is simply that singular decision is what got us very largely to where we are today.
Now we're in 2019. Let me allow my colleagues to come in now. I mean, of course, let me ask a question as a rider to what they may likely say. I'm not in their minds. But now, Malam Adamu, Minister of Education, had the singular honor of announcing the restoration in 2018. So you have already in slight distance talked about the challenges, the fact that it was about 3 decades of stagnation, if you like, of lack of history as a subject and history as knowledge, a body of knowledge. So, which means we are now going to be contending with a lot of problems, so how where is the Historical Society of Nigeria taken up from?
Thank you very much for that question. You had asked a question which I never responded to. I should quickly respond to that. What did we do as a professional body? Once that decision was taken, as a body of historians, we engaged the government. It might interest you to know that we've been engaging governments even before 1999, the return of democracy into this country. If you've been following the history of our engagement with government, in 1999, we got Obasanjo to make a pronouncement returning history back to schools. But that was a political statement because there was no action that backed it up. When Goodluck came, we went to see Goodluck. He also promised us that history was going to come back. That was shortly before the election. Or as it happened, he never won the election. We again met the minister We've not gone to Buhari after he won election, but we met the minister who was interested in our struggles. It was him and some other persons, like the late senator from Bauchi, I can't remember his name, Senator Wakili. Wakili was one of our arrowheads in the National Assembly. And then one other woman, I think a House of Reps, or maybe a senator from the East. And then we had one Yoruba House of Reps chap. They took the fight. In fact, a bill was raised. And it got to the first or second hearing.
Second reading.
Second reading. But it could not be passed because the Senate President then, Bukola, said, why are we saying we should just return history? It should be compulsory. They would have passed the bill by the third, but that never happened because the entire process got caught up in the political campaigns that was on at that time. We've done so much. Following up on the question that you asked, the Honorable Minister has been a friend of the society. In fact, he has done so much for the society in this struggle that we are on. We met him and we said, we understand that the current regime is on a national rebate program. Values have to change. That's why you have fight against corruption, fight against insurgency, promotion of patriotism and all that. We told him point blank that you cannot do a national rebate project without history. We need to understand where we are coming from. Where are we coming from? At what point did the rain begin to beat us? We need to understand that. And it's only historians that can tell you where we are coming from. He got that. And he said, he's with us. He's going to see how this moves. He has done so well. And we are very happy he's back as a minister. It then means that where we are going to, we'll actually get to the conclusion. What have we done? We have done a lot. He threw a challenge to us. He said, we are saying history should come back to schools. From the number of years that are involved in these things, if history comes back, how are they going to start? We say that is why we are here. We are professionals. The society got a team of experts. On the basis of working with the national, with the NERDC, we were able to bring up a curriculum. The curriculum was launched in Kano. And everybody keyed into it. It was like Nigerians are waking up. Some people never knew, including technocrats here in Abuja, never knew that history was off the curriculum of schools. It was us, it took us. The former council led by CBN Ogbogbo took up the fight. We were always on air. We brought it to the consciousness. It became like a national issue. Everywhere you go to, people are talking about why was history removed. The minister felt that, look, this has to be returned. He activated a committee in NRDC. Please put these things together. As I speak with you, because of that challenge he threw to the society has written books for primary schools. There's a letter on his table. Before the election, we wrote that we are seeking his audience through a courtesy call so that we can formally present to him the books that we have written that will be taught in the primary school. We were part of the process of the development of that curriculum.
Now, is it going to be only for the primary schools? Because it's one thing to introduce history, and then it's another thing to ensure that you have enough archival materials for its enablement. What about secondary schools? Very good question. Very, very good question. When you are building what you abandoned for the last about more than 30 years, you have to start from the beginning. The secondary school will not get students unless you have people from the primary school that are interested in reading history. We thought that we should start from that level. And we address the fears of parents, the fears of pupils, and then the fears of Nigerians. Because part of the allegation against history at that time was that it was too rigorous, it was too bogus, it was very boring and all that. As I speak with you, we have experts that are even advising us on how to package that history that we have written. We wrote, in the development of the curriculum, we promoted the idea of the three concentric circles. We should not move towards world history unless our people understand our history so well. At the primary school level, for example,
the three concentric circles.
The three concentric circles is simply talking about deal with local history, deal with Nigerian history before you fan out to West African history and then the history of the world. as a student in the university, I had not known enough of Nigerian history. I was being taught the history of Rome, Industrial Revolution in Europe and all that. We have scaled down this thing to a manageable level, to a point that by the time the syllabus come out, by the time the books come out, the syllabus are already out. By the time the books come out, our children will love history. We are also discussing with consultants, we need to digitize. Using cartoons, we are conscious of the revolution in information technology. We package this history, just like American history is packaged as cartoons for pupils in the secondary school. A child of 2 in the United States can recite the American Constitution.
But
we are thinking of that.
Prof, sorry to cut you there, still in line with what you're saying. Yes, the book thing is one great initiative the Historical Society of History is doing. But I remember back in school, history used to be my favorite subject. I could even challenge my scores.
What year was that?
I can't say the year. But I could challenge my scores. I loved history. It gave me an insight to, Nigeria, where we are, where we're coming, and where we're going. But from what you're saying, encouraging the younger ones, yes, you're building a future, you're building their future. But hardly you find anybody in a university or going to a university today saying, I want to go study history as a core course.
Unfortunately, you are not in the system, I will tell you. The demand now is so serious.
Yeah.
I can tell you that up front without batting an eyelid. The demand for history is so serious. There are departments today. Go to University of Abuja. They can't manage student population. I teach at the Federal University.
Is it because of lack of having a way to get admission for other courses?
No. It could be part of it. But also, because we also realized that history has to also, as a discipline, has to also integrate certain changes that is occurring globally. If you notice, departments of history used to be departments of just history. But today, because of that repackaging, which itself is a crisis on its own, that the society is tackling. But I'm telling you what we have done over the years.
You know how history and
international relations and all that. That encourages. In University of Jos, where I went on sabbatical, the department cannot even manage its undergraduate students because of the demand for that course. And the reason is that the discipline you get, that basic knowledge you get, you just gave me your example, places you are both somebody who just reads political science, sociology, because you would have been taught all that in that discipline. That's why we say history is the queen of the humanities. Everything you do has history in it, including medical science. You go to the hospital today, the doctor will ask you, when did this headache start? What drug have you taken? This is history.
That's history.
Recreated in your ailment. So these are the issues that we are dealing with. But to address what you are saying, we are also aware that there are quacks outside there that want to lash in on the opportunity to make money with the return of history. There are books flying in certain schools. But we are telling them that the official book written by the Historical Society of Nigeria, who was an organization that was part of the struggle that brought history back, and an organization that was part of the curriculum development process, has a book. Any other one can come, but that book is basic for the teaching of history. We integrated a few things. We are conscious of what has happened to our intergroup relations. Nigeria is a multi-ethnic society. How do we know ourselves? That is the philosophy that drove what we wrote. We are not saying sweep under the carpet our differences. No, we are saying that we must understand our differences. On the basis of that understanding, we can then say, okay, let's see how we can relate. Today, Nigerians live with each other. They don't even know who their neighbors are. Part of the thing about insecurity relates to that. Who are our neighbors? We don't know. So people just move across boundaries and they say they are Nigerians.
Okay, sir.
That is the crisis.
Okay, sir.
Of nationhood that we are confronting.
I understand the curriculum is divided into 3.
Yes.
Lower basic, middle basic, and upper basic.
First 9 years.
The first 9 years.
Yes.
The lower basic is meant for those from primary 1 to 3.
Yes.
The middle basic, primary 4 to 6. And the upper basic, JSS 1 to 3.
Yes.
And if we look at the period of the launch and now, why have they not started? Because I visited so many schools and I realized history as a subject is yet to be implemented.
You see, when government makes a pronouncement, it takes some time before it gets implemented. At the time that they were on retreat, before portfolios were given, a director in that ministry, or director, his name is Echono, one Mr. Echono, made a pronouncement, a policy statement, officially telling people schools must implement. But we are arguing, and that's why we want to see the minister, that he must go beyond that. Most schools don't have the books to teach. But because the minister gave us an assignment, we have written the books. We are presenting it to him formally. Let the federal government say, look, the Ministry of Education said, we are launching this book. And I'm sure it's just the question of time. He's going to do that. We believe in what he's doing in that place. And that's why we partner with him. I'm sure you know that he's a fellow of the Historical Society of Nigeria.
I see.
Yeah, he is, because of what he has done. We don't give fellows to, it's not about just dashing fellows to people. We give fellows to people who contribute to national development. Returning history back to schools is a major achievement in that ministry. And we want him to carry it to its logical conclusion. Launch those books before quacks cash in on the market and teach things from a non-professional level. No, it's very important.
It's not the issue of quacks cashing on the market. It behoves on the school authorities.
Yes.
To link up with the Historical Society of Nigeria, to know the authentic books. Is that not?
Yes. And a number of schools are linking up with us. We are also conscious of the fact that we won't just say, these are the books that we are teaching. We were given an assignment. We have to present the assignment to the person who gave us the assignment, right? We have finished the assignment, we'll present it officially. And I'm sure this won't take long. I know that in the next few months, even weeks, he may invite us for a meeting so that we do the formal presentation of this book. State governors are already buying into this, for your information. Some state governors are saying, you people say you wrote books, we are making policy pronouncement at the state level. So once that thing is done at the federal level, it remains for the state governors to step it down, because the federal government cannot come, and then you step it down to the local government. This is the way it should go. But as like I told you, policy statements are different from implementation. It takes a long time to implement government policies.
But is it just about, and I don't know if you agree with this, it's one thing to have these books available, and with all due respect to our teachers out there who are doing very well, how would you say will be the capacity of history teachers today?
Thank you very much. I was expecting that question. That's why I paused, so that I'm not the only one talking. We are aware that you need requisite manpower to deliver on this new philosophy of history that we are going to be teaching. And so we are partnering with those who should be the real owners of the history discipline at that level, NCA holders. We are in tune, in fact in sync if you like, with the national body at that level. Right? We are talking to them. We are saying that this is the approved curriculum for teaching, which we participated in developing. This is the books that have been approved by the Ministry of Education. Any other book can come, but this is the basic text for this. Right? We are aware of that. We are also trying to see how we organize training the trainers training workshop, in which case some of these colleges of education will get to them, will tell them the philosophy driving this thing is national rebate, anchored on the corporeality of the Nigerian nation. Nobody is interested in dismembering Nigeria at this point. We have come a long way. Yes. There are investments that we have made psychologically and even physically. Bloods have been shed to keep this country together. We fought a 3 years war, Nigerian civil war. What happens to all those that have died? So it's a question of educating the people. And you educate them on the basis of a properly written constitution that promotes inclusion rather than exclusion. This is our argument over time. And this is what we are flying in the 64th Congress that is taking place in Asaba. We are dealing with Nigeria since 1914. We want to interrogate the foundation of Nigeria from that time. And we are looking at building the nation, building the Nigerian nation since 1914. What has been the motion? What has been the movement, if there was any, And who are the actors driving this process?
I'm glad you just mentioned this.
Yes.
We're just counting down to our 59th independence anniversary.
Yes.
And as a nation, you mentioned if we're not looking at where we're coming from, we don't know where we're headed.
Yes.
Now, do you see an act of reminiscence, collective one from the nation in terms of projecting for the future, either as a people or individually? Because we have to plan for the future.
I believe in this country.
Okay.
And I see a brighter future for Nigeria. But that brighter future for Nigeria cannot continue in the way things are. There is a lot of adjustments that have to be made at the risk of using restructuring. Adjustments that we need to make. An adjustment that will affect the way we think about this country. An adjustment that will create new values. An adjustment that will generate a profound sense of national consciousness in which Nigerians will be respected within Nigeria and outside Nigeria. Not the nonsense we see. Every other person, every other African country takes arms against Nigeria without knowing what Nigeria has contributed to that country. To what extent people are making noise that we contributed if they were not killing Nigerians in South Africa. What have we done as a country to promote the fact that we are the big brother of the African continent in terms of publishing the quantum contributions we made to all these countries that got independence that are around us? Where is the history? That's the challenge. Where is the history of all this that we have done?
This government will turn around and ask you, as a member of the historical society,
yes.
You didn't write the books.
We wrote books. The question that you ask yourself, haven't destroyed the foundation, who is reading the books?
Even the ones we have in the past, where are they kept?
Haven't destroyed the foundation. They are in archives. They are in, university libraries.
How many of them?
So many. If you go to Ibadan, if you go to the bookshop in Ibadan, historians are still writing. The Historical Society of Nigeria publishes annually all its proceedings. The Journal of Historical Society of Nigeria, the flagship of our society. In fact, we just discussed with the past president, the editor, that we need to get the next edition for 2019 to Asaba within 3 weeks.
Okay.
So we are writing, and the problem we have is also a national problem. People don't read. It's not just history. When did you read a novel last?
I was going to ask that question about reading.
That is why the values have to change.
But you talked about digital delivery.
Yes, of course. We want to see how we can deliver this history like it's been done in other societies. United States, United Kingdom, these things are digitized. You don't need to go and open hard books. You can see it when you are relaxing. They tell you the story of your country through cartoons, visual images.
Like, what I wanted to ask is, where is the place of our heritage in all of this? Because kids growing today will tell you about the pyramid in Egypt, yet we have a lot of nice sites in our country.
And people have now turned culture to just be music and dances.
That's a very good question that you've asked. Unfortunately, that's where we are. It takes everybody's hand to be on the table to pull this thing off where it has gone to. Talking about heritage, that history is all about heritage, right? Take a look around. All our national parks, where have they gone to? Probably maybe in Abuja, because some elites will take their families there to go and relax. Then you tie this thing to the security of the parks. Those days we used to enjoy traveling to Yankari. As a student, I traveled to Yankari, traveled to Jaws. These days you can't go to the Rock Hills. Everybody has abandoned. They used to go and act Nigerian home video. Artists will go there to act films. What has happened to all those? You must tie your heritage to an enabling environment. What has happened to that enabling environment? And how has that impacted into even creating business out of your heritage? Talking about tourism. Tourism is done in Nigeria like it's something you just sign paper and then people will just follow. tourism is a culture. In your village, you have traditional festivals that you attend to. That's tourism, by the way. You visit your village once, maybe before Christmas. You go, you say, no, this I must take my family to. But these days, can you just say, look, we are going home to, which road will you pass to? With kidnappers and bandits all over the place. You must create that. Nigeria has tourism. In some other climes, these things are created artificially. We have a natural, we should tap into that. And that's one industry that we've not really tapped. It is still at the level of a potential. It's one industry that can outpace what oil is giving this country. Because it has resources in that.
But certainly the Historical Society can make inputs to that.
We've been making inputs. We've been making a lot of inputs. If you look at what we publish, if you look at even our engagement with the society, when we talk about past, what is your past, what is your heritage, once we have the opportunity, we are posing these questions. The reason why we are posing them is because we feel that there is a disconnect between the today Nigerian and his past. And until that disconnection is connected, that inspiration you get that can drive somebody to create, to become ingenious, is not going to be there.
Part of the moves you're making,
yes.
Are you engaging movie makers, theater practitioners? Because if from what you're saying, history deepens a positive understanding of our traditional values.
Yes.
So what about theater practitioners, stage plays? We can reenact the stories on stage.
We've been relating with them. They invite us to their conferences. We also invite them, they are executive to our conferences. In Asaba, it might interest you. We are even moving out. We are moving to Philosophical Association of Nigerian Philosophers, Association of Religious Studies, we are inviting the whole of the humanities, because we feel that each of these branches of knowledge have a history. And the more they integrate, this compartmentalization of knowledge does not exist as you move up. Knowledge is just one block. We just compartmentalize it from the lower level. As you move up, it's all knowledge.
Why I asked that question is because I have been privileged to read a lot of historical books, even recently. And you'll be so amazed at the depth of knowledge being buried. A lot of people are not aware.
They are not.
But when we're bringing out this on stage, in movies, I think it's one way. That's why I'm asking that question.
Yeah, and I agree with you. That's why I'm telling you that we partner with them. We invite them. We engage them. In fact, they even recruit some of our members as consultants to write skits for them. All right? Especially when you go to Epic, there's a lot of heritage. On DSTV, when you go to the channel Epic, there's a lot of heritage. There's a lot of the past in the kind of drama that they show in that channel. The point we are trying to get to is a situation where all those that are in the business of the past, heritage, tourism, will aggregate, because that's the only way we can change values that we have acquired through what you may want to call this rudderlessness, not having a deep sense of history about who you are. Once you don't have that deep sense of knowledge about who you are, all kinds of values will be deposited into you, and you think they are correct values.
Now, you told us how up to date your journal, the Historical Society's
of
journal
Nigeria
is. Apart from the journal, you also referred to Ibadan, ABU, Ife. Are these the only universities that teach history at graduate level?
No.
If no, then how many are there, and how many graduates do we have, or do we have annually, who are professional graduates of history?
It's okay. So let me just give you let me just state this point. I gave that example because these are regionally, you know, if you notice I spread them. These are the torch bearers. When you talk about the number of years they've existed, they have a tradition and all that. Ibadan, you know, Premier University, ABU's area and all those other. Ibadan created the Ibadan School of History. Ife has the Ife School of History. And then ABU is known for this radical Marxist disposition to all issues. class thesis and all that. I gave those examples because I felt that we could relate to those examples easily. Every conventional university in Nigeria today has a department of history that teaches history as its primary concern. Whether it is history and international studies, history and diplomacy, history and international relations, history and whatever, there is a department of history. In terms of graduates from, I can't get the actual figure, but it's actually huge. I just gave you an example of some few universities and the number of intakes they have. As soon as my university in Federal University Lafayette got accreditation when I was head of department, the Vice Chancellor, Professor Sanisi Liman, said there is a need to, by the recommendation of NUC, after the accreditation, we should do a nomenclature adjustment from history to history and international studies. We did that. By the next intake, the population shot up from about 15, 20 to almost 60. In the last admission, we had about 70 something. That's a new university of less than 10 years.
Let's do a consequential analysis of that nomenclature change. It used to be just pure history.
Yes.
Now history and international relations, history and diplomacy, history and international studies.
Yes.
And there is even peace history now in some universities. So what is the implication of that, positively and negatively, to the entire university system?
Let me state up front that as a body, Historical Society of Nigeria is not happy that people are changing the nomenclature.
Is it to make it attractive?
I think that was what happened, but I will come to that. Changing the nomenclature of our departments from history to history and something. CBN Ogbogbo, in one of his very profound intervention as president of HSN, called it the double barrel phenomenon, where every department has to have. It is also part of the crisis.
It's important to tell us who is that CBN Ogbogbo. That you are referring to
CBN Ogbogbo is, yes,
past president
of the Historical Society of Nigeria. So he interrogated that, and part of the argument that he pushed forward, which the society actually embraced, hook, line, and sinker, is that you do not change departments, the names of departments, from just history. I mean, you do not change from history to history and something in order to be relevant. Because that kind of relevance you are seeking is the market relevance that you are seeking. And it went into the policy of most universities. It has increased their quotas because people are coming into the department, not because really they want to really study history. I want you to get that point. They are coming in because history now has an added, and once you read history and something, you are better than somebody who just read that thing.
Which was why I asked that question.
But that's one negative, and I'm telling you up front that the society is very sad about that. But we have come to accept that as part of the consequence of the changes that are occurring.
Yeah.
Because people made the argument that, look, we need to also change the way we are doing things. Otherwise, we'll be ossified in a dead past. Because let's reflect what is happening contemporaneously.
In our earlier days, when you read a single honors course,
yes,
they will tell you it means you're just going to teach.
Yes.
But when you did a double honors course, you can go elsewhere.
Yeah.
But you see, that is a more fundamental sense of the problem. The problem did not start with even removing history from the curriculum. You understand? A.B. Uzaria was doing double honors. History and geography, history and archaeology, history and something. At that time, that's how it was. But if you look at the history they were studying at that time, if you encounter the historian, you will say, hi, this guy is deep, he's a temple of whatever. Because they look so solid. They've read so much. Most people don't want to read like that. And that was one of the reasons why it was very easy to accuse us of being too rigorous as a reason why history has to leave the table.
Will you put it on?
Because they then said that we are not absorbing the changes that is occurring globally. For instance, why would somebody just go and study history in a social formation that the economy does not give him opportunities to do anything beyond teaching. I'm sure you read history. If you had the opportunity to teach in the university, you would have accepted instead of being in broadcasting. Here
I read English, but I loved history.
So okay, you loved history.
Yes.
So assuming you were a historian, so everybody just concluded that BA Ons. When I was I opted to read law when I was going to the university, but I never got the law admission. Already I was very good in history. At the secondary school level, I had a very good grade. And then at my IGMB level, I had a very good grade. The admission officer said, what is your problem? Must you read law? Why is everybody even running away from law? Go and read history. He gave me admission. I was in my 300 level. They saw my CGPA. The dean of the faculty then said, we remember you. Can you come back and read law? I said, if I were to come back, what will happen? He said, I will start from 200 level. I said, no. I was already absorbed in history. So these are the issues. A lot of the kids that we have, you will see that this person's talent is about
the issue of counseling, actually.
I was going to get to that. A lot of counseling will go into this process of change that we are trying to create with the new syllabus. It's not just going to be that, even to sell what you have repackaged, you need counselors.
Now, Prof, let's quickly, as we round off, go to the issue of your upcoming 64th Congress of the Historical Society of Nigeria. You're saying it's going to be in Asaba.
Asaba, Delta State Capital.
You are likely to look at Nigeria since...
building the Nigerian nation since 1914.
1914. Building the Nigerian nation
since 1914. Motion, movement, and actors.
Wow. Just give us a kind of a glimpse of what to expect as we round up the discussion.
Let me tell Nigerians that one of the allegations we've always received is that professionals don't engage the national debate. Professionals are just quiet. You invite them as consultants, because you pay them money, they don't tell what they have to say, what they believe in. They tell the nation what you want the world to hear. In this Congress, we are going to sit ourselves down and tell each other the truth. Since 1914, what has been happening to Nigeria? Is there movement? Is there motion? Is there movement? If there are movement, if there is movement and there is motion, who are the actors driving this? We want to celebrate the ordinary Nigerian, who may not be in the position of formal authority, but has contributed immensely to the development of this country. Those are the people we should focus on as we talk about rebate of our national values. Those are the people that are the true Nigerians, not some persons who just gets money out of the system and then takes the money somewhere else and enjoy between him and his family. We are talking about Nigeria who, it's all about struggles to recreate this space and then to contribute to national development. But in doing that, we want to tell ourselves the truth. What is wrong with Nigeria? What has been wrong with Nigeria? Why? How did we get to the present crisis of nationhood that we are onto? How do we get out of it? What should be done? Who are the actors that should drive this process? Everybody here has responsibility. It's not just this unilineal conception of power. Everybody has power at various levels. Yes. Everybody must bring the power to the table and see how we drive the process.
I hope you are inviting the political parties.
Oh, so many of them are coming. We are inviting all the political parties to be part of the process. We are inviting anybody that you know that holds a position of authority in this country. We are inviting them, traditional chiefs, interest groups, NGOs, CBOs, all of them. If Nigeria has to work, it is not just the duty of those in Abuja, in the red and green chambers, or in Aso Rock.
Are you thinking of coming up with a communique that will address all our congresses?
At the end of the AGM, a communique will come out. But more beyond the communique, we are going to publish the proceedings of this conference.
Now, very quickly,
yes,
you said the bill that was to make history, study of history,
Yes.
compulsory.
Yes.
You got to the second reading
Yes.
and the last 8th assembly.
Yes.
Now we are in the 9th. Are you thinking of going back?
Oh, we are working
to
on it.
reintroduce the bill?
Yes. We are already in touch with some historians that are in the National Assembly. And we are not just going to stop, because we don't want a situation where it will be Buhari's policy of national rebate that brought history back. Someone will come and say he's not interested in that. We want a legislation on this. That history should be taught at all levels of schools. Everybody needs history.
Thank you so much, Prof. We have to leave it there. Maybe after your 64th Congress, you may come back to tell us how far and the recommendations and how to even go ahead to implement. Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe, National President, Historical Society of Nigeria, thank you so much for coming to platform.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Professor Okpe is also a fellow of the National Historical Society of Nigeria, professor of history, former head of Department of History, Federal University of Lafayette. Thank you once again for coming. My colleagues here, Olayinka Ojo of the NTA Education Desk, thank you for your insights. Ruth Aguele, a historian but an English graduate, thank you for your insights as well.
Thank you.
The platform has engaged Professor Okpe Ochai Okpe, National President, Historical Society of Nigeria, on the challenges of the restoration of the study of history and the prospects or that it entails. And he came up with so many profound suggestions and solutions. And one of them, if I may quote him, is that history now that is being restored in the curriculum they will be looking at it from the 3 concentric circle of history. That is, students now will have to undergo studying of history from Nigeria's history, West Africa's history, and of course, world history. That's platform. Thank you for watching. I'm Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Until we come your way again with another edition, I say bye for now.